Hello and welcome. My name is Thomas Kevin Dolan, the writer and author of Little Fag, A Journey of Self-Acceptance and Healing. Today I'll read from page 219 in my memoir, chapter 2, A Final Warm Embrace from Mum. Mum and I had an agreement. No birthday presents, just a lovely handwritten card and the latest photograph of her. There was a reason for this. Mum loved kitsch. The tackier, the better. And my inner gay snob was having none of it. Cards and photographs, that was enough. It was with some surprise that I found myself agreeing to a gift. She met me excitedly in the hallway, hustling me into the kitchen, where a neatly wrapped gift sat proudly on the table. I moved towards it, remembering suddenly Mum's fondness for tape. It took careful knife strokes to open one of her gifts to make sure that whatever lurked within came out in one piece. This box seemed more hermetically sealed than usual. Once through the layers of gift wrap and tape, a hand-painted ceramic clown was revealed. A pink hat protruding from the top of the box, followed by a cheerful face with nose and lips painted red. Typical of Mom, she made sure the pink shoes matched the pink hat. Her eyes were shining with tears. "I made it just for you," she said. "Think of it as one of the last gifts I'll give you." I too found myself tearful and speechless. "Turn it over. I wrote a special message on the bottom," she proudly shared. My tears made it a challenge to focus, but I did as I was told. There in black marker was written, "To my princess, love always, Mum." It was kitsch, it was tacky, I loved it. What I braved. How was it that I was the lone Dolan, not willing to be in denial that my mum was dying? Where did the idea of being a receiver, not a giver, from a dying person suddenly become okay? These were questions that rolled around my head as I drove from the airport to visit my mother. A few months before this visit, Mum asked if there was anything of hers I wanted. "I'm putting the names of my kids on all the things I own, so I want your name on something. Please let me know," she proudly shared. I was clear there was nothing of Mum's that I wanted. My work was to be brave enough to tell her. To get a sense of what she was thinking, I asked, "What did you have in mind as something of yours you think I'd like?" If I was to take something, I didn't want her to think she had to choose between me and another one of her kids if the piece I wanted already had a name tag on it. Mum's possessions were curated from stores like Kmart, Woolco, Goodwill, and a store I never really knew the name of called the Sally Ann. She had a lovely taste, but it wasn't her gay son's snobbish taste. It pissed her off if she sensed I didn't like what she had purchased, so I always swooned over her treasures. She replied very quickly and said, "I thought you'd like the family Bible. I've stuffed it with lots of cards and notes, along with the flowers you gave me from the funerals of two of you brothers." I sat quiet, chose not to reply, and finally nodded, hoping she'd get the hint that I didn't really want it. The Bible was bound with a hockey skate lace, and it didn't resonate with my gay sensibilities. "It's important to me to give you something of mine that I know you'd like," she chimed in. Having walked away from a marriage with all the trappings and leaving it all behind, I had discovered my meaning for life was not connected to stuff. Mum had proclaimed herself as crafty, as in loving to make crafts for her entire life. With the threat of having to lug that old Bible back to Vancouver, what could I tell her I wanted that might seem like it was something to me and would honor her desire to have me be the receiver? I suddenly remembered a ceramic Christmas tree she had made, one of the ones that had mini lights on it, which she had given to my wife and me for our first Christmas. I said, "What if you made something ceramic for me?" Her eyes lit up, her creative energy was flowing. Part of gift giving for my mom was this idea that you never parted with these treasures she bestowed upon you. It was a lesson I learned the hard way. There were a few of the trinkets or treasures she gave me, such as a brass dolphin with a crystal dangling from its nose, that I really disliked. So one day, while clearing out a storage locker, I decided to re-gift the things Mum gave me. I placed a collection of items in the laundry room. Many of the residents that lived in my building were elders. I thought they'd love these items. They all disappeared. Here's the strategic blunder I made. With much enthusiasm, on one visit, I announced to Mom that her gifts were regifted to many of the residents in my building. The unwavering displeasure of Mom always came through as an energy likened to walking into a meat freezer. She didn't hesitate to reply to my enthusiastic share by quickly saying, I didn't give you those gifts so that one day you'd be sitting collecting dust on some old fart's mantle. What I braved to learn from that icy, shame-filled response from my mom was this. If I were to give a gift and expect that whomever I gave it to would always have it or shouldn't give it away, then I never really gave it to them in the first place. The unlearning. I pride myself on living light and free with no attachment to the few material things I have. In fact, I have a rule. If something comes into my life, I choose to let something else go. It keeps me from accumulating stuff. The men I have loved in my life know this all too well, not only having heard my hang on tightly, let go lightly soliloquy, but also knowing this might apply most assuredly to any gift they may have given me. Mom raised 9 kids in a small 2-bedroom house in northwest Calgary. When she sold the house, it was knocked down, and a children's daycare was built on the property. The daycare seemed like a fitting tribute to her. In my youth, I forged strong friendships and created a history for myself that seemed worth remembering, so I held on to every trinket from my past. For some time, I kept so many of these historical artifacts, Grandpa's canned water from the Canadian Pacific Railway, an old ball glove, a trophy that had someone else's name on it, that I didn't have any room for. Maybe that was the intelligence of letting go. By giving myself permission to admit there were some things I didn't like, I made it easier to let them go. Admitting that to the gift givers was a whole other confession. Memories for me did not come from material possessions. Memories come from my mind and heart. They come from my experiences. While it is true that objects can help me recall certain people or events, I wistfully say to myself, am I really going to lose a memory if I let go of this item? And if I do let go of this item, and I later forget the memory that is attached to it, was it even worth remembering in the first place? I love the notion of holding on to an item that adds direct value to my life. This philosophy may have been forged by walking away from my entire material life when I came out to my wife. What I wanted, and when I wanted nothing of what we possessed, my wife had a hard time, and she asked, are you trying to eliminate every memory of what we had? My reply was simple. It isn't the stuff that the memories are attached to. It's you. And I trust I'll always have a memory of you. Loving stuff is an innate human trait. For some, maybe even a survival trait. It was harder for me to let go earlier in my life, especially if the things represented a time in my life that I treasured. Most of my family was reluctant to mend what wasn't really in their lives. Material things fill gaps in their lives to make them feel good. If they lost those material things, they feared the future. They were great teachers to me. The unlearning for me was creating an affirmation that the universe always has my back. Although I let go of many things, having had them made me feel immense gratitude for being given the treasure in the first place. Gratitude was always my prayer. The clown. Oh my gosh, the clown. Oh, and like I shared, I do say to the people that are my inner circle of love, I do say to them, if they don't know me, and as they're getting to know me, I say to them, I have this quirky little way of being, and it's this. You may give me something, and there may come a time in my life where I need, for some reason or excuse, to let it go. And I really don't know what that is. It is connected to being light in my life. It's also connected to the accumulation of experience and not things. So for instance, my husband and I are blessed and highly privileged. We could, this home is in Vancouver. So there was an opportunity when we first moved in to really decorate this place and spend a lot of money. But we have this philosophy in our marriage, and it's simply this. We are accumulators of experience, not of things. So we didn't do that. We have the necessities here, and that's good enough for us. For things that are given to me by other people, I've never really figured out why it is I need to let them go. I don't know that, and I'm okay not knowing. But it does happen. So the clown that Mom gave me, I intuitively knew at some point in time I would let it go. I hung on to it for the longest time, long after she took her last breath. And there came a day where I felt this little nudge, and what I heard was it was time to let go of this clown. This little ceramic clown. And I have a picture of it, and I have a picture of it propped up in the place that I left it. But it was this. Because it was a gift that was really given to, right, her little princess, right? The child part of me, her young son, her young princess. I felt it was important to return it to the place that we grew up. So what I did was I took that little ceramic clown, I flew with it to Calgary, and I went to the home that we all grew up in. I mentioned to you it's now a daycare. And one of the trees that I planted from elementary school had grown up. And here was my thought. I would prop it up against that tree, and as a little person was brought into daycare by Mom or Dad, that little person would spot the clown and be filled with this joy, would grab this little clown, this ceramic clown made by my mom, and it would become a joy for their lives. It would perhaps sit on a bedroom dresser or be on display somewhere. But imagine for that little girl or that little boy, the excitement, having discovered something that lit them up. And for me, when I thought about the joy it might fill up a child with, it would probably be the energy my mom would want that gift to actually take on after she'd given it to me. So I think, sure, she would still have an issue that I gave it away, but she'd taken her last breath, so it didn't really matter. But it felt good knowing that in this particular case, as I hung onto it tightly, when I let go of it lightly by placing it at the base of the tree, some little child came in and picked that up and made that treasure theirs as I let go of that treasure. So for me, there's this lovely play, this energetic play in motion around that gift continues to give to somebody else. I had it for the period of time I needed it. Treasured memory, terrific gift. I have the memory of Mom giving it to me and all her stories around painting it, especially the pink hat and the pink shoes. They had to match. The hat and the shoes always had to match. So Dorothy was being Dorothy. So it felt really good for me to be able to let it go. The timing of it felt really extraordinary. And the fact that it was given to a child, kind of the icing on the cake.